Greetings and welcome to another edition of The Pedal Shift Project. The Pedal Shift Project is a series of conversations, thoughts, and experiments on bicycle travel adventures. From tips and tricks to ideas on how to ride your ride. Let's shrink the world by bike. Show notes and more are available at pedalshift.net/382, and you can email the show at pedalshift@pedalshift.net or text me at 202-930-1109 and check Pedal Shift out on all the socials as well. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 382nd edition of the Pedal Shift Project. My name's Tim Mooney. Thanks so much for joining. On this edition, it is part one of the NoDak Northern Tier Adventure, and I am very, very excited to bring this to you. On this episode, we start the long journey to bike, at least a little bit, in the badlands of North Dakota. And it turns out perhaps the biggest reason I haven't had a chance to visit North Dakota previously is because it is tucked out of the way in the U.S. Northern Plains. Maybe it's the remote nature that's part of its draw? Its largest city of Fargo is the gateway to this entire adventure. Would it surprise me from the start? Good afternoon from St. Paul, Minnesota. It is a couple of days. It's a day before things here, so you're getting multiple days here in the first episode. I am sitting in my hotel room. I am at the conference that I am at, which I do my little song and dance tomorrow afternoon. Unfortunately, I have literally the final slot of this entire conference, which puts my ability to get to the place that I want to go to after the conference further behind the eight ball than I would have liked. I would have loved it if I had presented today in the first day of the conference, but nope, I got the last slot. That's fine. That's cool. It'll go great, I'm sure. But afterwards, I am going to have to hustle back to my hotel, get the stuff together, all my stuff together, get in my rental car, take it back to the airport, grab the other rental car because work is paying for this one and I am paying for my rental car for this particular adventure, swap things out, and then get on the road for a 4-hour drive to Fargo, North Dakota, and the Lindenwood Campground, which is a city-run park. It's either city or county. I'll have to look that up. But that's going to be part of the adventure. Unfortunately, I know I'm going to be getting there after dark. So I think that the bikey part of the adventure is probably going to have to wait until maybe the next day. We're just going to have to see. I'm not 100% sure how easy it's going to be to get out of town, how quick it's going to be to get out of town. Traffic here in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area is thicker than I would have expected. It's obviously a couple of big cities, but there's a lot of construction going on, and I'm finding that has kind of hampered some of my movement here for the time that I've been here so far. A couple of things that I thought I would mention at the outset here. Number one, the flight here was pretty uneventful. I flew a direct flight on Southwest Airlines from Baltimore to here. It is the only direct flight to Minneapolis. And that went fine. I also thought that I would note that I did indeed check the Brompton. I have not pulled it from the bag, but it, by all appearances, it looks like it survived just great. And I'll tell you a little bit about how I accomplished this. The bag of choice for those of us who gate check or check a Brompton, if you're not going to do some kind of a specialized case, is the IKEA Dimpa bag. And it is a perfect fit for a folded Brompton, as long as you can remove the saddle. And of course, I've got the extended saddle height thing that I can pull out. And it just fit in there, along with a couple of other things. I stuffed my tent in there. I also stuffed a sleeping bag in there to sort of create some padding around everything. I removed the clips that sort of hold the bike together. Those tend to be the things that get busted and bent if you aren't careful. So I removed those and put those in a Ziploc bag elsewhere. I wish I could remember where. Hopefully I know where it is. I'm sure it's someplace. It's in one of my bags. And then I used a whole bunch of cardboard. Really, I just randomly kind of tore cardboard all over the place and tucked it in and protected all of the sides of the bag. And it worked great. It is not super easy to maneuver, but it has just enough of a handle that you can get it up on your shoulder. And so that is my most awkward bag. I had another carry-on bag that contains all of my clothes and my toiletries. That came on the flight with me. It's a newer bag of mine. The other was a rollerboard bag where I stuffed every blessed last thing of my camping equipment, which includes my sleeping bag. Yes, I'm bringing two. I also have the pad and the pillow and all sorts of other things. My helmet. All sorts of other things in that rollerboard. So I've got one bag over my one shoulder. I've got the bike over another, and I'm rolling that rollerboard bag that I checked. I can also put, because they're from the same company, I can attach that shoulder bag onto the roller. And so if I'm walking further, I do that. So it's less to carry on me. So I'm pretty mobile considering, and I'm at least as mobile as I am when I've got the big duffel for any of my other bicycle adventures. So that's been actually a really interesting discovery for this particular trip. It'll be interesting to see what I do for future travels with the Brompton. Of course, a lot is going to have to do with how well it travels when checked. I think I still prefer bringing it on board with me, just because I know it's not getting bashed around. It's not being put underneath other bags, things like that. But it is tricky to kind of maneuver through an airport with a folding bike, as easy as it is compared to what you might think. But this was more of an experiment on this particular trip, just because I had all of that additional camping gear that I was bringing with me that was more aligned for car camping. So this was, I could have really essentially done the same thing I do for any other trip and just brought the big duffel and done it that way, and then brought the bike on board with me. We'll see. I think things will be interesting for the return trip. The reason why I did it this way is because of my return trip home, and I may or may not document this on the podcast, but just as a preview for that, I have a connecting flight there because I didn't want to fly through back to Baltimore. I wanted to come to the airport that's closer to my home, National Airport, DCA. You've been brought to DCA on many occasions on many a tour journal before, but I have to connect with that. And to do that, connecting with a bike is less fun. So this is the whole reason why I'm doing this experiment, in case I do ever have connecting flights again, just to know that I've got some confidence in the bike traveling that way. And of course, we did this before, you and I, on a trip, I want to say a year or two ago, when I gate checked the bike on that crazy little mileage run that I did back in California. And, it went off without a hitch, and there was far less padding on the bike for that. So I feel pretty confident that everything is going to be okay. You can usually tell when a bag has gone through the ringer, and this bag looked perfectly fine. So I'm kind of excited about this trip. I've been dealing with a whole bunch of different things with family stuff and everything back in New York, and everything seems to be actually going okay with that, but that's been a real distraction for me. There was actually a point in time when I wasn't sure if this trip was going to happen or not, but I'm happy to say that it is. Things are looking up on that side of the fence, and everything looks like we're going to be able to pull off this whole North Dakota adventure, and I'm so excited about all of that, mainly because I think it's a unique adventure for this show. I've done some unusual things that are just sort of not as focused in on the bike, but more about having a bike with you, but being a part of a kind of an unusual adventure. And, I'm going to literally be crossing 2 states to be able to pull this off, and then coming all the way back across both of those states, all in order for me to collect North Dakota for me as my 49th state. Could I have just gone to Fargo? Yes, I could have done that. I that would have counted. I would have hung out in Fargo. I would have gotten up the next morning, maybe gotten some breakfast, and then come back. But no, I must go to Theodore Roosevelt National Park. If I went to North Dakota and did not go there, I'm not sure if I would ever get back to that park. And so this has been a place that I've wanted to go to for so long. The call of the buffalo, the bison, if you will, their scientific name is bison, as I mentioned before, I think. They're calling me, and I must go see them. And so this is all going to be worth it. It's going to be so much driving. I'm going to be so sick of driving by the end of this, I can't even tell you. But I'm going to get little interregnums of cycling as a part of all of this, and I'm going to be doing it in a place that, frankly, just not many people get to. Many people get to Fargo, but not very many people get to Theodore Roosevelt National Park. So I'm super excited about that. So that's sort of the lay of the land here on, I guess we'll call this day 0. Tomorrow, the next you'll hear from me, you'll probably be hearing from me a lot in a motor vehicle, or maybe when I take breaks. I'm hoping for more of that because I never love the sound of myself in a motor vehicle for the podcast purposes. So, we'll check in as a part of all of the various elements of this adventure. I'm hoping to be able to find some cool stops along the way. Tomorrow, I think I'm going to be really trying to rush in quotes to get to Fargo, just because I do want to be able to have the possibility, once I get my tent set up and once I get camp set up, to be able to maybe enjoy some of what Fargo has to offer, because, we've all seen the movie maybe, but have we done it? Have we gone into town and maybe enjoyed a beer? That's sort of what I'm hoping to be able to do. And then the next morning, maybe tool around a little bit on the old Brompton and then start the adventure to try to get across the state before sunset so we can look out for some of those bison. All right. I'm excited. I hope that comes across. I'm in a part of the country I don't get to very often, and it's all bikey adjacent adventures. By the way, I will mention, speaking of bikey adjacent adventures, the bicycle trails in this part of the country are outstanding. They are ubiquitous. They are linked. They are protected in many cases. The Twin Cities absolutely has a reputation for excellent cycling, and it is earned. It is fantastic. And I hope to be able to talk a little bit more about that as well, maybe tomorrow.
Good afternoon. Well, I just got done saying that I wasn't going to record from motor vehicles, but here we are in a motor vehicle in glorious traffic here in I believe we're in Minneapolis right now. I have been spending most of my time in St. Paul. Beautiful, beautiful area. The bike trails were absolutely fantastic. And I mean, the interconnectivity of everything, the separation, they were outrageously great. So I'm a fan. I am a fan. I do wish that I could have had more time to do some more biking, but just energetically and timing wise, it just really wasn't in the cards so much for me on this trip. But if there's one thing I'm going to take away from being in Minnesota for the time that I have been, it's that I definitely want to come back, and I definitely want to take advantage of some cycling here. So that is, mark it down. I think there's going to be a pedal shift bike adventure in Minnesota at some point. So we are in traffic. It is 4 p.m. Central Time. I am on a route that will take me to Lindenwood Campground in Fargo, North Dakota, just over the border. It will take me about 4 hours, a little bit less than that, but this traffic will probably add some time. I'm also probably going to grab a bite to eat. I did not really have a lunch to speak of, so I think I'll have perhaps an earlier dinner somewhere on the road, hopefully something reasonably healthy. But I do want to make my miles because the sun will be setting a little bit before 7 o'clock in this part of the North American continent, so a little bit earlier than where I am down substantially further south than here in Washington, D.C. So the sun sets earlier. And also, I am going to be needing to set up my tent in the dark. Not my favorite thing, but it'll be fine. I've got my headlamp. So I think it's going to be a kind of a chill campsite situation. I'm not going to be setting anything up really too crazy. I think it's going to be mostly just to get set up to go to bed. It'll be interesting to see how tired I am when I get there. I was kind of hoping that I'd be able to, as I mentioned before, enjoy a little bit of Fargo nightlife. That would be kind of fun if I could. But, it's been a day. I did my presentation, went well. Thanks for asking. So, but, the adventure begins. And, of course, I am now realizing how much time I'm going to be spending in this vehicle. What vehicle did you get, you may ask? I got the exact same, way too crazy big for me, way too burly, way too four-wheel drive for me Jeep. I think it's a Sahara. It's a Wrangler of some type. It's got the hard shell top that can be removed, I believe. It's a lot of vehicle. This is the same one that I drove from California to Oregon earlier this year. kind of just dumb luck when it's all said and done. But yeah, I mean, I've got Montana tags, so that's kind of cool. I'll take that. And yeah, so I'll fit right in. I'll look a little bougie, I think, for some of the places that I'll be going to, but that's all right. It drives very heavy, like very heavy. So I'm having to be mindful of that, especially here in the stop and go traffic here on the interstate in Minneapolis. I'm going to be going by not too terribly far from Paisley Park. I got a chance to go there earlier, yesterday, in fact, which is crazy. It seems like it was so long ago, but it was yesterday morning, and that was super cool. If you are a Prince fan, as I am, that was a really, really special trip for me, and I learned a lot and got to see some cool stuff, got to physically be in some spaces that he made some music, so that's super cool. But yeah, a lot of driving coming. Also made a little bit of a change from the preview episode. I had set that I was going to be staying in a rest stop on the final night, the third and final night. I decided that I would probably be better served by getting a hotel that night. I also thought I would be better served by getting further through the state. So I will be spending tonight in Fargo, and I will be spending the day after tomorrow night in Fargo. So I'm going to be driving clear across the state twice just to go to Teddy Roosevelt National Park. But I will say, when I mentioned to folks that I was going to be going to North Dakota to camp, that was the first thing that everybody said, "Oh, are you going to TR?" And so, yes, indeed. And I'm feeling more excited about all of that as we get closer. So, but I'm also excited about Fargo, and I'm excited that I'll have actually 2 nights. The fact that I will be in a hotel on the second night suggests that maybe I could do a little nightlife on the second night, but I do think I'm going to be pretty tired. I'm also going to have a very early morning. My flight leaves from Minneapolis a little after 1 o'clock, and I just need to have enough time to get back and get in and pull all of this stuff. It's it's a load to bring all this stuff with me, but it's worked out pretty well, better than I expected. I'll have to admit. So everything's going smoothly so far, and a lot of driving, as I keep saying, but that's fine by me. I knew that going into this, and a lot of this is going to be what am I going to, not so much the journey on this particular trip. It's going to be much more about the destination and what I can accomplish there. And so having the bike for that is all a part of why this is getting podcast for you, the gentle listener. All right, that is that. I will definitely be checking in a little bit later, and perhaps you'll get at least one more mid-drive check-in as I have a better sense of what's going to be going on for my arrival into beautiful downtown Fargo. Is it downtown Fargo? It's near downtown where this campsite is, which I'm super excited about. Very popular. Was unable to get it for the second night there. I did have to do the hotel, but that's fine. I'm just excited that I'll be able to pitch a tent. Oh, one other thing I should mention. Last night, in much of the northern states here in North America, in the U.S., we had tremendous northern lights. We never get them this far south, or I shouldn't say that. It's very rare. But I will be very far north in Fargo, of course, and there is talk that tonight is the last bite at the apple for it. So I may get a shot at getting some shots of the Northern Lights, which I have never seen before. So I am very excited about that. It would be even better if they would last just one more night, because certainly in Teddy Roosevelt National Park, they will be stunning, because with no city lights or anything like that, you would just have to think that it is just absolutely off the charts amazing. However, I will take what I can get, and if I get them in Fargo, North Dakota, I will call this a very successful North Dakota adventure. All right, that is that for the real true beginning of this journey. I'm excited. We're off to North Dakota, but first we've got to drive clear across the great state of Minnesota. So more to come on that. From somewhere in western Minnesota, I am quite a bit of ways from the Twin Cities. I am past St. Cloud. I am 93 miles away from the border. If you're familiar with Minnesota and or North Dakota, there's kind of a Twin City action across the state border there. You've got Moorhead, Minnesota, and then Fargo, North Dakota, right over the border. And of course, I'll be in North Dakota tonight. Unfortunately, of course, I am missing sunset, so I will be getting there after dark, as I mentioned. I am looking forward to maybe getting a shot of the state sign. I don't know how good that's going to look at this hour, but we will see. Real-time follow-up, I'm passing by Brandon, Minnesota. Brandon. I do not know where I am. It is stunning. I mean, just beautiful. It is a little hilly, a lot of farmland, mostly corn it looks like. It is just uniquely beautiful here. A different type of land than I've ever. Now just passed my first North Dakota license plate, which is kind of exciting. I think I mentioned before I may or may not have mentioned before, I am riding in a Montana tagged vehicle, which feels cool. But yeah, the vibes here are very agricultural at this point, and the traffic has very much gone down to a trickle. We did go through a section where one side of I-94 was under construction. They're putting down brand new, I'll say pavement, but it looked like this gigantic 6-inch concrete block is essentially what the freeway, or excuse me, the highway is going to be, the interstate, I should say. And that clearly must be what is necessary and helpful for the type of weather that is up here. As you all probably know, if you're not from the States, this is a frozen tundra when winter comes around, which is why I'm kind of getting in at the very end of shoulder season, really. Most people stop camping around here in September in terms of real numbers. In fact, a lot of campgrounds aren't even open. This is a holiday weekend, so it will be interesting to see what the campgrounds are like. I do know that Lindenwood tonight is going to be full. I don't know what the national park is going to be like this weekend. It is off season, it is free, it is first come, first served. I have not thought that I might get shut out because I am coming in the middle of a holiday weekend. I really do hope that I can get a spot there. I would be actually pretty torn up if I couldn't. But I'll figure something else out. I really do want to camp there. That would be very disappointing if I could, but there was nothing else I could do. There's no way that I could have made a reservation. I absolutely would have if I could have. So we will see how that all goes. The ride is going very well. I did stop for a bite to eat. Looks like I've got a rest area in 19 miles if I so choose, but everything's going just fine. The rumors are true. There are many lakes here in Minnesota. They are beautiful. They are small, but they are beautiful. And the sunset here is just stunning. I am still unsure if I'll be able to get any Northern Lights action tonight, but I'll tell you what, the sky is nice and big and there aren't any clouds. Now there are clouds in the direction I'm going, so I'm hoping that in Fargo that we do end up having a cloud-free sky, but you know, it is what it is. We'll see what happens. The interesting thing about Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights, is that they are very difficult, if not impossible, to see with the naked eye, I have learned. And you are going to get some really stunning stuff if you can do some long exposures on your phone, which I will do. So I'm feeling like I've got decent energy, considering I should be in camp in an hour and 15 minutes. Won't take me long to get set up. I don't know how long it'll get me to check in, but I don't really intend to do anything other than just load my sleeping bag and my pad and, you know, maybe get a bottle of water into the tent. So if I'm feeling it, I may go into town and just kind of wander about, drive around, maybe find a place, and then see if I can post up and get some Aurora Borealis going on. My intention tomorrow is to wake up reasonably early, and I've been waking up fairly early on this entire trip. The nice thing about being on East Coast time, although I'm sure I'm not by this point, is I get that little extra hour in the morning. So I do think that I'll have that as well for tonight. For the morning. And then get an early start. I got another long drive tomorrow, longer than what I just did. And the quicker I can get out there, the quicker I can explore. So, quicker I can get the bike out, quicker I can do all that. So, all right, that is it. We are a mere hour and 14 minutes until camp and the adventures that proceed from there. I will still be in Central Time for tonight and into tomorrow. I will cross into Mountain Time before I get to camp tomorrow. So gaining that extra hour will be handy tomorrow, not so handy on Sunday. But that's for a different episode. All right, more to come. Greetings from Fargo, North Dakota. I just pulled into my camp spot. Of course, it's in this one spot where there is a blinding halogen light that is absolutely brighter than the sun. But, you know, hey, what you gonna do? There's nobody here. There's actually, I should say that there's one RV here, one mini RV here. I am sort of rethinking the concept of setting up the tent. I may consider sleeping in the vehicle now, just because, I don't know. Well, but then again, this blinding halogen light is going right into the car, and I don't have any way to block the light. It's a lovely municipal campground. There is a bathroom that's associated with it. I received an email that basically said, yeah, dog, no one's going to be there. So you can get a bathroom key by putting in this code or whatever, and make sure you put it in the Dropbox later. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's fine. That's all good. But yeah, no, this is very different than what I expected. Fargo already is kind of shattering my expectations. I don't know why. I kind of was like thinking it would be like, I don't know, small town in Wyoming kind of vibes, which I've been in. It is not. It is a bustling, decent sized city. The other thing that was funny was I was kind of expecting, the crossover from Moorhead into Fargo will be, a thing. And it wasn't. It was just kind of like there was a welcome to North Dakota sign that came so fast I couldn't get a picture of it. So my 49th state entry was a lot less dramatic than I thought it might be. So yeah, I mean, I'm here. I have been to 49 states. That's kind of exciting. Cycling. Interesting. Initial take is there is a bicycling route going through this lovely neighborhood. I mean, it felt like a neighborhood in any state from here on east. A beautiful kind of, nice middle class homes. It's a really lovely area that this park is in. But it does not look like that there is any place that I could reasonably bike to that would be sort of, I don't know, nightlife like I was talking about. I'm really, my expectations are largely shattered for all of that. But that's fine. That's part of what all of this is. It's me trying to figure out, hey, I want to experience Fargo, and I will. So I think, what am I going to do? I think I'm going to set up the tent. I think I've decided against sleeping here in this vehicle. Just that light is so bright. I wonder if there's nobody else here. I wonder if I can go to a different spot, but I don't know. Maybe I'll just stick with this and maybe set up my tent closer to the fence line here. And I think that should make the light a little bit less bright for my tent. All right. More to come. We're going to do this. I think I'm only going to be recording audio inside the vehicle because there is somebody else here across the way, and that would be probably disruptive for their experience. It's funny. It's like, because there's only one other person, I feel like I have to tiptoe even more than I would if there were like 10 people here, I was driving in here thinking, oh, wow, I wonder if anybody's going to be partying or something, and I'll want to go to sleep. Not the issue. Not the issue. People don't like camping after September around here, is what I'm gathering. All right. Let's get a tent up. By the way, it's like 50 degrees. It's really nice out. Beautiful day. Clouds are out. There's too much ambient light. I just don't think Northern Lights is happening. That's a bummer, but that's all right. Let's get the tent up, and then we can kind of proceed from there. From the Lindenwood Campground bathroom. That horrible sound that you hear in the background, which I'm going to keep in just so you can hear it, is, I guess, the
vent for this space. It's actually quite nice in here. And there's a key card. They were really, really very clear. I got that email about, not being able to have anybody check me in or anything. But they gave me the code for this lockbox, and the key card was in there. It was labeled for me and everything. So, yeah, this is a really nice setup here. I can't remember how much it was. I feel like it was like maybe 40. I mean, expensive is in terms of what I'm used to paying, but for a car camping setup in Fargo, literally in Fargo, it's fantastic. I would recommend this place. I think it's going to get chilly tonight, so I've got all my stuff together. I'm going to use the restroom facilities here, make sure I brush my teeth and all that other good stuff, and then I am going to head to the tent and I think just maybe listen to some podcasts and go to sleep as early as I can, and hope to get up at a reasonably good hour, if not, with the sun, maybe even before, and then kind of throw the stuff in the car and just get out. I bought a nice coffee, basically, in a can so that I don't even have to make coffee tomorrow morning. That way I can just kind of chug that, wake myself up a little bit, take down the tent. I may just kind of throw it into the back of the Jeep, to be perfectly honest, because let's be clear, I'm going to be driving across the state and setting that tent up as quickly as I can. So, yeah, all right. So, yeah, has this turned out exactly the way that I thought it was? No, I have not gotten the bike out. It's dark, and while there is a bike route, it's not a good biking situation at this moment. I think tomorrow morning it may very well, maybe. But I think that the biggest surprise so far is that and maybe I shouldn't be that surprised, that it doesn't seem like a super bikey area of the city, except in and around this park, in which case there's a ton of cycling and cycling routes and things like that. So it's definitely there and available, but it's just there's no place really that I can perceive to go to. Again, my thought was, I'm in the city, I can just ride to some cool little cowboy bar or something. All right, for those of you who know Fargo, North Dakota, or at least maybe where I'm at, that's just not the case. So this is good. This has been a good surprise, a good grounding thing to realize. Fargo, way bigger than I thought it was. And I'm excited. One other thing that I thought I would mention, and that I don't think I have before, this goes back to the 10-year celebration. Originally, as many of you know, I was going to cycle from Portland to Fargo, North Dakota. This was supposed to be my finish line for the original 2014 ride. And as I mentioned, I think several times this year, that got scuttled because there were temperatures exceeding 110 degrees for large swaths of eastern Washington into Montana. And I just didn't want to do that. So in many ways, we did the 10-year reunion ride with Mysterious James. And we're doing this as kind of a nod to what might have been had the weather been different 10 years ago. So it's kind of fun and interesting to be here. It took me 10 years to get to this state, but here I am. Now I'm going to be crossing it in a very different way than I was intending, but I'm excited because tomorrow is also the beginning of paralleling the Northern Tier route, which is celebrating, as I mentioned, its 40th anniversary. So shout outs to the Adventure Cycling Association for all of that. All right. Different first episode than maybe I would have expected. Tomorrow, next week for you, tomorrow for me, we're definitely going to be getting the bike out. And I'm really, truly excited for what is going to be in store. And I'm looking forward to kind of finding out from park rangers and whatnot what's a good route, what's a good spot for me to go, knowing full well that I'm going to be sharing the road with a lot of cars, and there may not be a great place to do it, but I'm hoping that I do have the opportunity to bike a little bit in and around TR National Park. Okay, more to come next week.
Statistics. Miles driven, 249. Miles biked, 0. States visited, 49. Feels good. Number of campers in camp, 1. Number of bikes in camp, 1. That would be me. Dash expectations for a cowboy bar because Fargo is way more of a city than I expected, and really that's my own fault because I should have done a minimal amount of research into the vibrant community that Fargo clearly is, and for that, I'm a bad podcaster and I'm sorry. Wait, is there a number here? I don't know. 9. Flats, 0. And as always, we like to close out the show with a special shout out to the Pedal Shift Society. Because of support from listeners like you, Pedal Shift is a weekly bicycle touring podcast with a global community, expanding into live shows and covering new tours. If you like what you hear, you can support the show for $5, $2, or even $1 a month. And there's one-shot and annual options if you're not into the small monthly thing. Check it all out at pedalshift.net/society. On to the society. Kimberly Wilson, Caleb Jenkinson, Cameron Lean, Andrew McGregor, Michael Hart, Keith Nagel, Brock Dittus, Thomas Skadow, Marco Lowe, Terrence Manson, Harry Telgadis, Chris Barron, Mark Van Ram, Brad Hipwell, Mr. T, Nathan Poulton, Stephen Dickerson, Vince LaGreco, Cody Florchinger, Tom Beninati, Greg Braithwaite, Sandy Pizzio, Jeff Muster, Seth Pollock, Joseph Quinn, Drew Porter, Byron Patterson, Joaquin Robber, Ray Jackson, Jeff Fry, Kenny Mikey, Lisa Hart, John Denkler, Steve Hankel, Miguel Quinones, Alejandro Aviles Reyes, Keith Spangler, Greg Towner, Jody Zaranin, Lucas Barwick, Michael Baker, Brian Bechtal, Reinhard Bigel, Greg Middlemiss, Connie Moore, William Gothman, Brian Benton, Joan Churchill, Mike Bender, Rick Weinberg, Billy Crafton, Gary Matushak, Greg Latoile Lopez, James Sloan, Jonathan Dillard, John Funk, Ronald Paroli, Dave Roll, Brian Hafner, Misha LeBlanc, Ari Messenger, David Kropke, Todd Grossbeck, Wally Estrella, Sue Reinert, John Lico, Stephen Granada, Philip Mueller, Robert Lackey, Dominic Carroll, Jackie McCullough, John Hickman, Carl Presseau, David Neves, Patty Louise, Terry Fitzgerald, Peter Steinmetz, Timothy Fitzpatrick, Michael Lazuski, Hank O'Donnell, David Zanoni, David Weil, Matthew Sponsella, Chad Reno, Spartan Dale, Carolyn Ferguson, Peggy Littlefield, Lauren Allensmith, Eric Burns, Thomas Pearl, Darren McKibben, Richard Stewart, Dave Fletcher, Jack Smith, Luke Parkinson, Ryan Patterson, Sarus Faravar, John Gardner, Sam Scruggs, Dwight Pintinger, Connie Bowder, Rob Merrifield, and thanks to all past and anonymous folks for helping make this show happen. Thank you for joining. You can find Pedal Shift at pedalshift.net for more great bicycle touring content. You can hear the Pedal Shift project through Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app. Opening music courtesy of Jason Kent off his self-titled album. The track is called America. Check out his band Sunfield's latest release, Mono Mono, wherever cool music is available.